Massive head-on collision into the pit gate at Meridian Speedway.
He runs fifth right now.
Watch
Here's the battle on screen again between Lockwood getting around the outside. Mike Anderson, and the 77 of Brent Collins goes into the wall in a big way over in turn number 3. Red flag on the speedway.
Heavy hit, Todd.
That was the understatement of the year. Massive crash up at Idaho's Meridian Speedway. Long time running track up there. But man, sometimes I don't know how we survived some of that stuff, but that was an absolutely brutal, massive head-on collision there. Here's a guy, he swallows $770,000 worth of earrings. The cops are going in. They finally released the body cam footage of that. Here's some of it. As you see, there's the cops that have him. And they're trying to tell him to spit it out. They knew he had something. They didn't know it was $770,000 worth of earrings. So eventually this dude, number 2'd him out. Took him 12 days. Finally, they came out in the toilet and they were returned to the jeweler where they were stolen. What a bizarre story out of Florida. Another ridiculous thing that goes off to protest the ice raids or whatever they're doing, the donut stunts and fireworks. We really have to resort to this. Here's the ABC7 report. We thought.
A chaotic scene in Pacoima overnight where people protested the recent ice raids. Yeah, this happened at the intersection of Van Nuys and Laurel Canyon Boulevards. Video shows drivers doing donuts in the intersection.
So we got to have the dinosaur out there too. Now, this wasn't an organized protest. We got the dinosaur with the... this is absolutely incredible.
Climbing light poles and lighting fireworks while others marched, waved flags.
So they should have arrested every one of these clowns.
ABC's David Muir, the most watched
that participated in this. It's absolutely nuts. You cannot have this kind of idiotic stuff going on now or forever. Waving the Mexican flag, fireworks, dinosaurs. Holy bleeping cow. Man was injured seriously after a hard landing down in Paris. Here's the KCAL news report.
A skydiver was seriously injured today in an apparent hard landing after a jump over Paris Valley Airport. Riverside County firefighters say the parachutist was participating in a jump organized by Skydive Paris when the incident happened this afternoon. That person was taken to a regional trauma center for emergency treatment.
Well, surviving a bad jump out of an airplane, I wouldn't call it lucky, I'd call it fortunate. Lucky's hitting the lottery. But if you get to that point where you are severely injured jumping out of a perfectly good plane, hey, everybody's got to do their thing. Lots of other stuff local coming up today. Fontana High School is playing at Carnegie High. A man alleges Rialto Unified School District is a citadel of scandal. How could that be? Our schools are so great out here in California. Have you noticed you've been blinded by lights driving down the freeway? It's not just you. It's not something. It's not your eyes going bad. We'll have the report on that and much. Oh, Newsom was, this might be even bigger than the French Laundry deal. When all the riots and stuff were breaking out in LA, now there's a new report out he was sipping wine. Holy cow, we've got the City Journal story on that. There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live close to 5 and iNewsWire and the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, and the Roy Blue Eckert channel today as we sort through issues with them. Today, well, kind of today and tomorrow, first days of summer, the 20th and the 21st. Longest daylight, why they do that is this is the longest daylight hours. Today and tomorrow you will have all year. So Old Sol, Mr. Sunshine, biggest nuclear reactor that we know of, called the Sun, has its longest stint in 24 hours in today and tomorrow, and that's why we officially kick this off as the official summer season. As we did on the preview and stuff, there is just a barrage of news stories coming out on the line. It seems like they get more fascinating and interesting every day. Like the dude that was on. We were hassling on that dude in Florida. They finally released the body cam of it. Swallows $770,000 worth of earrings. First, how ridiculous. I mean, what point? I don't know. I guess there is some point to it. What point are you proving, are you getting at wearing $770,000 earrings? I guess two of them. One for about 600, one about 150 or so. It's amazing to me that first, again, of that, then he swallows them. I guess he said he was representing some no balls player or something. Because usually if you're looking at expensive jewelry like that, you just don't roll in off the sidewalk in your Paris Auto Speedway t-shirt of that and say, hey, I want to check out the $500,000 earrings. They've been ripped off on that too many times, so they're up to that. So he BS'd his way into and got to the point of looking at them, then snatched them, ran off. The cops pulled him over. And, you know, you've seen guys in the police pursuits throw guns out, or people that've had cocaine or whatever, drugs or something, swallow them. This dude swallowed the earrings. And it took him 12 days, they said, for him to number two them out on the toilet. It's a good thing they didn't come out the other end. Can you imagine that? Holy. As bad as kidney stones are. Whew. I wonder how that was. They didn't explain how it came out on the toilet end of the thing. But they did. They said, you know, the police evidence people cleaned them up, thank goodness, returned them to the jeweler where they were stolen. But that brings up another point of all this stuff of the smash and grabs and what that recent, $2 million heist or whatever it was, $20 million, something like that, ridiculous down in LA, or the smash and grabs. I don't know about Florida, but they said here most of the jewelry stores are running open because they can't afford the insurance. Now, that might not be the case in Florida, but with all the smash and grab robberies and all that noise going on, it's kind of like the car insurance going up, or you can't get homeowners insurance out here in California. So I don't know if they were insured on that. But this right here, the old copperoonies got the dude. They were, I guess they were trying to, maybe they thought they could stop it on the throat from him or that. And they kept working at him, as you saw in the opening video. They said, spit it out, because they didn't know what the hell was going on. They probably, usually in that case, it's usually drugs. You're dealing with dudes that are swallowing drugs or something on that. So they figured that. I guess I'm sure they weren't figuring that the dude had over $750,000 worth of earrings on him. What a story. And we'll follow up on that. We'll see what the charges of the trial of that ought to be, I would say, very interesting, to say the least. One of the more, we've been following the whole ICE California riots, deportations, it's estimated over 1.5 million so far. Bill Melugin, the great reporter from, he started off on Fox LA, now he's doing the national stuff mostly on the border. He had this unusual report, but this is what the ICE guys got to deal with, especially with all the crimes and the attorneys and everybody hollering and riots and all this noise going on. We'll see if we can get to the Bill Melugin report out of Fox News. Here we go.
That's our car.
All right. Only Fox News was with ICE in Los Angeles as they moved in to take down a high-priority aggravated felon.
Got him.
His name is Alexander Palacios Guevara, and DHS says he's a Salvadoran illegal alien and Sureños gang member with convictions in LA County for murder and attempted murder.
I have an immigration lawyer.
Guevara has had a deportation order since February 2024 and had been living freely in Los Angeles County, a sanctuary jurisdiction. Now that this convicted murderer is in federal custody, he's coming here to this ICE facility where he's going to be booked. They're going to take his fingerprints, take his biometrics. He'll be placed in a...
So there you go with the first thing. Bill Melugin pointing out which Bill Essayli, Tom Homan, and FBI, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, pointed out how it makes the law enforcement, federal law enforcement jobs extremely difficult with the sanctuary city. Plus, it makes the public unsafe. Here's more of the extraneous BS they have to go through. More on the report.
Cell. But as we were reporting on what would happen next with Guevara, he interrupted us to repeatedly say he shouldn't be deported because he has a special form of relief called CAT. ICE says you have a deportation order since February 2024, sir.
No, I just got CAT on December the 18th of last year by the BIA. You can call my lawyer.
It turns out his claim is true. ICE wasn't aware at the time of his arrest, but in the final days of the Biden administration, on December 18th, the BIA, or Board of Immigration Appeals under the Biden Justice Department, granted Guevara a relief known as DCAT, meaning deferred removal under the Convention Against Torture. It means Guevara can't be deported to El Salvador because he fears being killed.
So Biden protecting guys either for or accused of murder. Oh, we can't send them to the El Salvador prison like Trump did. You notice how immigration basically stopped? No. Border Patrol released no one, 0, in May when Biden catch and release 60,000 of them the year before, the May before in 2024. But it's more important to protect illegal criminals under the Biden administration than your public safety. You to be able to roam the Americas without fear of somebody knocking you over the head.
Or tortured. Are you a convicted murderer, sir?
I am free.
Are you a convicted murderer?
Yeah, Bill Mnuchin didn't ask him if he was free. He said, "Are you convicted? Are you a convicted murderer?" If you're a convicted murderer, then we should be taking care of that situation. I.e., oh, you're from El Salvador? Well, guess what? We're sending you back down there to Burkel or whatever the hell his name is, and you can be a guest in his Gray Bar Motel and see how you like that.
And Brett, we learned that ICE had to briefly release this man from their custody. Then they quickly rearrested him the very next day. He remains in their custody now. ICE sent a statement to Fox News about this, saying that this criminal alien should have never been roaming the streets of Los Angeles in the first place. They went on to say that this Biden-era decision to protect him from deportation to his home country is, quote, highly unusual.
Highly unusual? We're not sending convicted murderers back to their country. Back to the proper place where they should be, in the El Salvador prison. Where Bukele, or whatever his name is, straightened that country out in like 6 months. It was one of the most lawless, cartel-run countries until Bukele got down there and said, hey, we ain't putting up with this crap. You get in our jails, you're going to wish you never were in there. But the Biden administration protecting these.
ICE tells us this guy's going to stay in their custody right now while they try to find another country they can deport him to other than El Salvador. We did reach out to his immigration attorney multiple times over the last couple of days, asking specifically, who is this guy afraid of? Who does he think is going to torture him? But that attorney never responded to us. Brett?
That was an amazing story. Bill Mnuchin in Los.
That is an amazing story. How you get to that point, how we in America are down to this point of where we, the people, are subject to this by our own president and administration. And this is what they're rioting and supporting down there and waving the Mexican. That's what they want. The whole thing about waving the Mexican flag is they want to bring Mexico, they want California, and they, not only California, they want the United States or all the Americas to be run like Mexico. Cartel running, dictatorship, that's a phony election. Sheinbaum or whatever the hell her name is. The current El Presidente down there. He's just a figurehead. You get too far out of line,
Los Angeles. Bill, thank you.
Down in Mexico.
Here's correspondent Bill Malou.
They will tell you, they will show you who is in charge down there. Real fast. More things on the hit parade. I want to deal with this. That whiny little crop of a senator we got, Alex Padilla, who barged into Kristi Noem's press conference in the middle of it, demanding answers, not following the protocol, which he knows. Now he's whining. Anna Paulina, congressman from back east there, I think Florida, calls him a whiny little bitch. He's on the Senate floor complaining and blaming Kristi Noem, and Trump was mean to me and all this other noise. Here we go. What you thought?
First on my knees, and then flat on my chest. And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained?
Very simply, sir, you are being detained because you were interrupting a press conference. Kristi Noem's in LA where the riots are going on, giving a briefing on that. They don't know who you are because you're like the silent senator out here. Yeah, you're on your knees. And you're lucky this wasn't 30 or 40 years ago, because they'd have probably beat the living crap out of you for doing that. You don't charge. You're not her boss. You're not Kristi Noem's boss. Trump may, because he's her boss, he may be able to get away with something like that. You're not a member of the press. You aren't there to ask questions unless she wants to address what you're doing. You don't barge in the middle of this. This, again, it's like the riot or the street takeover. We got dinosaurs out there, people with the Mexican flags, fireworks. That's all staged. Probably paid for by our money, like USAID and all the stuff that's coming out. It's really fantastic. Dealing more with the gas price raise, which is probably going to be coming up in about 10 days, could be up to 65 cents over the California Air Resources Board's odious, totally odious vote they did right here in Riverside in the Inland Empire, right? What was that, about November or December? Raising the gas tax up. A California state senator is calling for an audit. Rightfully so. ABC 10 report on that.
And who gives a crap? We make more than just toilet paper.
No, it will be. We should 100% get an audit. We deserve an audit to find out how we have been getting hosed. Now, here
California Air Resources Board, or CARB, to see if there's a way to track and slow the rise in the cost of gas. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us in studio to discuss the goal of the audit and how California drivers are bracing themselves. Jeannie?
Well, Becca, with the state's gas tax expected to go up in the next 2 weeks, Republican Senator Brian Jones says Californians can't afford another increase. He says the policies passed by CARB are driving up the cost for drivers, and he's hoping the audit will show that.
Gas is costing enough where, vacations are cheaper flying than driving, which is something different.
Instead of
Let's go with that one. The young lady's right. Flying's cheaper than just the gas to get up there. Much less than the whole bullet. This was why the bullet train, the train to nowhere, is an absolutely hideous idea. Because it's going to take you as much to get there. But Brian Jones is absolutely right. Let's do a cost-benefit analysis should be done on everything they're doing. Victor Manuel Perez, who is our 4th district supervisor out here in Riverside County, plus he's a member of CARB, California Air Resources Board, and voted for this. Why didn't you require that? Why didn't you ask a question of that? He did. A couple weeks later, he's a member of South Coast Air Quality Management District and is changing his tune now, since he sees, I think, the political wave shifting, or whatever. He can come in here and answer it. But said, hey, you're going to raise the cost of natural gas. People aren't going to be able to have hot water, have central air, be able to afford to do it. The whole AB 32 and climate change and global warming and all that, the study that was built on that was phonier than a $3 bill. Done by Mary Nichols, who that building, the car building down in Riverside, is named after.
Traveling for fun, Jen Ross has found herself planning more staycations as she has been feeling the financial impacts from current gas prices.
It really stops us from traveling like we'd want to travel. We just kind of stick around and have staycations.
On July 1st,
So this is what I'm talking about. It's affecting your quality of life. They jack the prices up faster than your wages are going up. You're going to have to cut stuff out. This is why I believe gas sales are down 20% in Riverside County, at least the sales tax revenue. So you got to say the sales of gas are down. And because people are cutting out, like she said. You can't afford to drive, so you can't afford to go 20 miles to see grandma.
California's gas tax will automatically increase an additional 2 cents, totaling 61.2 cents a gallon.
Drivers here in Sacramento say gas is already not affordable, and even a penny more could put a strain on their wallets.
Every 2 cents counts.
Republican Senator Brian Jones says California drivers should brace themselves for more increases. With the recent amendments made to the low carbon fuel standard by the California Air Resources Board, Jones believes gas prices could soar to more than $8 per gallon by 2026. Now he's demanding an audit.
Number one is, does California Air Resources Board appropriately estimate the economic impacts of these decisions when they're making them on these regulations?
The answer is no. N-O, big no. They didn't do the analysis, proper analysis on AB 32, the climate bill, that got all this crap started. The phony Mary Nichols report that she garnered was built by a guy who had no expertise in nothing. He had a degree in Mongolian basket weaving or something. And it was proven after they passed the bill, AB 32, oh, well, it was phonier than a $3 bill.
Number two, do they meet legal transparency requirements?
Jones wants the audit to find out if CARB is weighing economic impacts of its regulations and if CARB has deliberately downplayed projected gas costs. He says CARB's policies are causing gas refineries to close in the state, driving up costs.
Gas prices in California can get up to $8.43 a gallon by December 2026. That's only 18 months from now. That's not very long. Californians can't afford $8.43 a gallon gas.
That was a prediction by the Mike Nishke report out of USC that will hit over $6 a gallon by the end of this year, over one refinery closing, and this latest jump in gas prices, courtesy of California. On top of that, 2 more refineries closing in 26. That's why he predicted way over and close to $9 a gallon by the end of 26. $9 freaking a gallon. That's almost double what it is today. In 2 more freaking years. Who lunch pail toting Joe and Juanita can afford this? You're already cut. Once you cut out the vacations or the extra trips or this and that, what are you going to do if you can't? How do we survive as an economy if you can't afford to put gas in the tank to get to your job?
In response, a CARB spokesperson tells ABC 10 there is no tax associated with the LCFS and the state does not collect money from the program, adding that market forces drive costs but not regulators. CARB also says gas is likely to increase between 5 and 8 cents per gallon, and these high-end assumptions have no historical or documentable evidence. For now, drivers like
that was a legislative analyst's office of the state of California that came up with that estimate. This is all about Newsom's deal of, oh, how do we get by with these refineries closing? Now, well, we're down to what, 10 or 11? We're going to be maybe at 7 in 2 years. We had over 50. 25 years ago, we had over 50 gas and diesel refiners in the state of California. I think at we peak, we had 65. I think that was somewhere in the 80s. Let's say you have 50. Well, if one refinery goes down, say you're going to lose 2, 3, 1, 2, 3%, depending on how big that refinery is. No big deal. Gas goes up 2 or 3 cents a gallon. Nobody even notices it. When you get down to 10 and one refinery goes down, that's 10% of your capacity, plus or minus. That's why the price spikes 50, 75 cents, $1 a gallon if a refinery goes down. And they go down regularly. You know, things happen. You're dealing making gas, diesel. They have to have routine maintenance. They have to be shut down and inspected and routine maintenance so they don't blow up or something doesn't happen. So you have to have excess capacity, which we have not had in decades. The last one is the Valero one, the Benicia one. I mean, yeah, from Valero up there in Benicia up in Northern California. That's the last refinery built in the year 2000. 25 years. We have not built a gas or oil refinery in California. We've closed down most of them. This is going to kill us. This is one thing, and I thought, hell, man, something's going wrong. I'm driving around at night and I can't see. It's like blinded. Like everything's just... And man, am I going to have to give up? Or something going wrong with my eyes? Or I'm going to have to stop driving at night or something? Well, it turns out, this is a Back East report, it's not you. Most cases, I mean, you know, as we age and stuff, then, you know, everything declines at some point. But you go to that and you're thinking, wow, and you're looking around, why do all these lights? Because if I'm on a road or like out in the country or there's no traffic, I mean, I can see fine. Thinking, it ain't me, I don't think. And then you're looking at these cars with a, you know, first it was only 1 or 2 and then maybe 20%. Now it's like 80 or 90%. Just a few years ago, just their normal lights would be brighter than the bright lights if you had your brights on all the time 10 years ago. Here's the 12 News report. Here we go.
We're taking a closer look at why and if there are any laws that puts limits on these blinding headlights. Target 12 investigator Tim White is here now with the details. Tim?
There is no argument that brighter headlights on cars make for better visibility at night, but many complain there is a dangerous trade-off. We're doing a story on bright headlights. It's hard to find something that everyone agrees on. Do you think they're a problem?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, they are a problem. That's what I was seeing of like going like, heck, you're driving down the freeway or a busy road and it's like, hell, I can't see. I'm like doing this, moving around. And then I'm thinking, man, why is everybody driving with their bright lights on? No, they're driving with their regular beams on.
Bright headlights, there is near universal agreement.
I think it's definitely gotten a lot brighter, and I feel like it's damaging to people's eyes.
I do think that some headlights are a bit too bright for my liking, yeah.
Even
1,000%.
when it's like not even.
1,000%. And if you're that blind, back in the day, you could drive perfectly well. You didn't have to have it. Like you were doing the Baja 1000 off-road race, and you're out in the middle of Ensenadas or 80 miles south of that. You didn't have to see CB lights all on the top and lighting it up because you're going 100 miles an hour down the middle of the desert, nowhere, no lights, nothing, pitch black dark at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when you need a lot of candle power light because there's nobody coming back the other way. If you need that kind of light to drive in the regular road, stay the frick off. So the old yellow lights that weren't the bright blue light, you could see. You could see enough. If it was pitch dark and nothing was around, no street lights, you could hit your bright lights and then turn them down when somebody's coming the other way. Perfectly fine.
High beams. Some cars with new headlights, it's hard to see. I have to like go to the next lane.
Can obstruct your view and you could crash, you know? Sometimes I get blinded driving around, especially in Coventry, dock roads, no lights or anything like that. You know, that's when it really affects you.
I'm not surprised to hear that everyone that you spoke to had something to say about this.
Jillian Young of AAA Northeast says complaints from motorists who get blinded by another car have been on the rise.
And it's leaving everyone feeling like they might be going a little crazy, but they're not. The lights are in fact brighter.
There are three primary factors to excessive headlight glare from other cars: brightness, color or tone, and vehicle height. A headlight's brightness is measured in lumens. Older cars used halogen lamps, which put out about 1,000 to 1,500 lumens. In the mid-2000s, LED lights started getting installed in cars, which put out between 3,000 and 4,000 lumens. Aftermarket headlights, which can be illegal in Rhode Island and elsewhere.
So, cars in the last 20 years, just the regular lights are almost twice as bright as the bright lights were on your car before that. When you hit the bright lights, it went to about 2,000 lumens. Hell, now we got them up there. They're twice as bright as the bright lights that we had before. And I agree. Everybody says it's a much dangerous situation when you can't see. When you're blinded by somebody, that's why they put a bright and a regular switch on your lights. So when somebody's coming the other way, you could turn them down if you were using the brights. You know, if you're out in the country or whatever. And then 5 to 10 times higher for these aftermarket ones, and these guys that come up with the big trucks and all that, they're 6 feet off the ground anyway, and the headlights are looking right in your rearview mirror or coming directly at your eyesight.
Boast an eye-squinting 10,000 lumens or more. The second factor, color. LED lights tend to have a blue hue to them.
They're not a warm light, and we as humans naturally find that bright, whitish, bluish light very uncomfortable to look at.
And finally, vehicle height. There are more SUVs and trucks on the road, so for many drivers, the lights hit them at eye.
We need to go back to the original halogen lights. As we say, the LED blue light affects your vision much more. Not only the brightness, but the blue light and everything. It's a wonder we all aren't crashing. We need to go back to the old halogen lights. And if you can't see with safe lights that most people can, then stay off the freaking road. We need. Now that's what our government should be doing. Instead of trying to make our lives more difficult every day, as they seem very, very, very capable of doing, more girls why this is even a subject is another one of the 27 insanities we've ever had. How come we can't get to boys and boys sports, girls and girls? This is what we Title IX and the whole thing. Just plain, can we eliminate the idiocracy?
Hi, my name is Taylor Starling and I am 17 years old. I am a dedicated member and team captain of my high school's CIF Division I varsity cross country and track and field teams. Running is something I've worked hard for through injuries, early mornings, and tough races. I worked very hard to earn my spot on my varsity team through years of training, sacrifice, and commitment. But this year I lost my spot to a varsity. I lost my spot on my varsity cross country team, not because I was slow, or because I didn't put in countless training hours required for a spot on our CIF Division I team, but because a male was allowed to join the girls' varsity team.
That was right here in the Inland Empire, at King High School here in Riverside. Again, the idiocracy that we're dealing with this kind of stuff, man. Sometimes you wonder where it's all going to end, if it's going to end. There's a few other local stories. Well, let's get to our great and esteemed El Presidente, Donald J. Trump, who's a master, I say, of social media, at least as far as politicians go. Bring him up on the screen. Let's see. 0 border crossings for the month for Trump versus 60,000 for sleepy, crooked Joe Biden. A man who lost the 2020 presidential election by a landslide, Biden was grossly incompetent, and the 2020 election was a total fraud. The evidence is massive and overwhelming. A special prosecutor must be appointed. This cannot be allowed to happen again in the United States of America. Let the work begin. What this crooked man and his corrupt cronies have done to our country in 4 years is grossly indescribable. Make America great again. This is why we love Donald J. And this is why the MAGA movement is growing by leaps and bounds and will continue to. Because people are tired. They cannot take anymore. Like the gas. We can't even go see grandma. Because it's $5 going on $6 to $8 to $10 a gallon in California. Because of these stolen elections. Like with the Bill Maloogian report. Biden's protecting convicted murderers in this country illegally. Once they're here, and then gets a special hearing so he doesn't get deported down to El Salvador. He's been running around here since December. December, just before Biden goes out, he cuts him, says, oh, no, can't go. Oh, can't go down to that El Salvador prison. Trump is right. We got to straighten these elections out. We outvoted the fraud in a lot of cases in 2024. Now it's time to get back to honest elections. This is why we say Donald J. all the way. We should have that clip up of the old network deal as I'm as mad as hell. And I'm not going to take it anymore. But here's another one. No-show rates jumped in LA and the Inland Empire at our hospitals in wake of the ICE raids. Well, if you're here legally and lawfully, why would you, and even if you're not, if you're here legally or lawfully, why would you not want to go to the hospital? It's in the San Bernardino Sun. Not only are they not showing up, oh, ICE is coming, we're not showing up for work. Oh, we're not going to show up here. Well, there's no reason not to do a doctor's appointment or show up at the hospital if you're here legally or lawfully. That doesn't, and even if you're here on vacation, you're in a guest worker program, you're getting your citizenship, you've applied, going through all the hoops and rules. This was posted by someone who works in the medical industry. I work at a lab, and I think the illegals aren't going to the doctors lately because our volume of lab tests have declined dramatically since ICE has been doing its job. That's a lab worker here in the IE who posted that on social media. This is further evidence. They say only 10% are here in California or whatever, in the IE or in Los Angeles, are here illegally or unlawfully. I believe that number is extremely low. I believe it's probably, and the honest number is about 25%. And it is, if you're seeing precipitous drops in people going to the restaurants, going to the doctor, going to the hospitals, precipitous. Not just, if only 10% is, you should see a slight decline. 10%, you're going to say, yeah, slow down a little bit, but that's kind of normal. Maybe, maybe the COVID con is gone. But no. More evidence of what is really going on. And I think my numbers are way way, way more correct. I think I'm almost certain it's over 25%, and I say the real number is probably, most likely, 25% in California, probably in this country illegally and or unlawfully. We'll click through a few of the local news stories before we join the Mighty Met KMET. Kroger, which is the parent company of Ralph and Food for Less, here in SoCal, is planning on closing 60 stores over the next 18 months. They say it's going to raise their profits. They ain't saying why. We can kind of guess. They didn't name the ones in Southern California of the 60 that are closing. That's a lot. That's going to affect prices. Less competition means higher prices, so groceries will go higher. City of Riverside is going to roll out drones to monitor illegal fireworks. Get the right one. Let's see, get the right audio up there. Now you can see that. Sad news out of Menifee. They responded to a report of an accident. Sad thing was that when they got there, the car was on fire and a 65-year-old woman perished in that. The fire department did get there, but by the time they got the fire out, she had succumbed to her injuries. We did that. The skydiver who suffered serious injuries after a hard landing at the Paris Skydive out there. City of Corona is hiring engineers, traffic interns, technicians, maintenance techs, graduate academy, dispatchers, public works inspectors. So they got a lot of jobs going in the city of Corona. So the Balloon and Wine Festival weekend with all its country music lineup changes and venue, lots to explore down at the Temecula Valley Wine and Festival, which is coming. So another thing to check out. Woodcrest Christian's Evan Turk is the Inland Empire Varsity Boys Athlete of the Year, so congratulations to him. 7 hospitalized, including children, after a 2-car collision in Lake Elsinore on Highway 74 around Riverside Street. Fontana's Summit High School will perform at Carnegie Hall in 2026. That's quite an honor. So good job, the orchestra from Summit High in Fontana. Some of the personnel at Murrieta are retiring in the police department of that. This is a sad story. Man charged after failing to seek care for dog, leading to amputation. Man, oh man. Out of business. This is the Hemet cops. I got to give real big kudos to the Hemet cops. They've been really the ones out there. And they said, think of organized retail theft doesn't affect you just because you don't know out of the store. You're paying for it. So good job, Hemet, and all the police departments and sheriff's deputies that are on this. As they said, retail theft costs $120 billion annually in our economy. Fontana businessman alleges school board member has committed the district's decision-making process and defamed us as well. The lawsuit against Rialto Unified alleges that it has become the citadel of scandal. We're going to dig into this more in the future. There's some really nasty stuff allegedly going on down there at Rialto Unified. Did that one. New administrator coming to Riverside College. And another thing, second president was fired at Riverside City College here by the board. That's highly unusual. New interchanges at the 9171 freeways to open in Corona. So good luck with that. Yeah, there's Claire Oliveros, the second one fired at RCC. Man, oh man. You light it, we cite it. Fireworks are illegal in Hemet. Love the slogan there. Good job, Hemet cops. You're getting to be on the A-list here of all that. San Bernardino Police Department, Officer Gabriel Rodriguez was accompanied by Chief Goodwin as Rodriguez has received the Governor's Public Safety Officer Award. It's a good job there. Southwest Sheriff Station saying the same thing. No fireworks in our city. If we catch you, you're in a heap of trouble. That about 75 migrants, are they illegal? Arrested in thermal SFED sweep illegal cannabis operation. There we go. Got through the local report. We'll be joining the Mighty Met. Mighty Met. Excuse me. 14:90 a.m. here in a few minutes, few seconds. We'll also get into the Gavin Newsom, what he was doing when the riots broke out here a couple weeks ago, when he said, him and Buffoon Bass were saying we've got everything under control. Yada, yada, yada. Well, apparently they didn't have everything under control. We'll get into that. Second Amendment. Big victory for the Second Amendment Foundation in the Ninth Circuit. Sure, it'll go to the full circuit, Ninth Circuit, and probably the Supreme Court. It really needs to, because I think we need more clarity on the Second Amendment, but we'll see. But we'll take our victories when we can.
Got about 1 minute, Roy.
You got it. As you heard Sean say, there's about 1 minute left before we join the Mighty Met. And we'll have R.J. Johnson, who is the current USAC CRA champ of that. He'll be racing at a Parasauda Speedway, sprint car races, plus we'll have stock cars, street, and super stocks. He'll be on too later on in this coming hour as we close out this Faster Than You Friday on the first days of summer, which is absolutely fabulous in my book.
30 seconds.
Longest daylight hours today and tomorrow. That's why this is the official mark of the summer season, which is one of my favorites. I like them all, but I do love the extra daylight hours.
All right, here we go. 10 seconds.
Was created for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. The views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of any of the WP management, employees, or affiliates.
That funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience in the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube on the Roy Bleckert channel. Check us out, subscribe, do all that good stuff on that. We had lots of stories on that massive head-on collision. You're going to check that out. The ding-dongs out there with the ice raids and doing the donuts and the street takeovers. Out there with the Mexican flags. Isn't that a dinosaur out there? Tell me this stuff isn't staged and we're probably paying for it. Absolutely nuts. You're not going blind out there driving at night. We had to report on that. The regular lights now on the headlights coming down the road are twice as brights were 20 years ago. We need to go back to the halogen lights, back to the more yellow light, not the blue light. And if you need that much light to see, stay off the road at night. Maybe we should have a nighttime vision test for driving. We got to do something because it's very dangerous. Practically everybody agrees. You get in there and you can't. I thought, hell, something's going wrong with my vision. No. I get thinking, as more cars have been getting to this, and I'm looking out and thinking, vaya caramba, the hell? I thought everybody was, and they are, driving on with twice the bright lights of what they were, like I said, 20 years ago. That's what government should be doing, is fixing stuff like that instead of blinding us. And then the dudes with the 4x4s jacked up off the ground, they're 5 to 10 to 20 times more. That should be totally illegal. We had the Bill Maloogian report from Fox. Joe Biden, convicted criminal, convicted murderer. Just before he went out of office in December, said, oh, we can't send him down to El Salvador. ICE was arresting him, had to screw around for 2 or 3 or 4 days because of all the stuff that Joe Biden did. Zero border releases under Trump in May of 20 versus 60,000 of Biden. Like Trump said, we got to fix these elections. Now that we got the process and Trump's in, we need to start with the federal elections. Same day voting, paper ballots for 90% of the people. That's it. This was a story that just broke, I think, late last night on the City Journal. We heard Gavin Newsom coming crowing about all his, oh, I've done this, and we didn't need the National Guard, and me and Buffoon Bass have everything under control. There's no riots, no nothing going on. First, that's been disputed by the cops. The LA police chief, I believe, sheriffs, officers on the street, lieutenants, saying, wait a minute, we were overwhelmed. No, we needed more personnel than even Trump sent in. Of course, he lost the deal after the crooked Judge Breyer reversed the order. It didn't take an hour for the appeals board at the Ninth Circuit to pick it up and stay the order. And then yesterday they said all 3 of them, and one was an Obama appointee, said no, he has a right to do that. His pretty broad powers. He doesn't have absolute. Nobody should in the United States has absolute powers to do anything. But he was well within his rights to do it. But as they say, this is what was on the City Journal. Gavin Newsom sipped Cabernet while Los Angeles burned. The California governor attended a luxury wine tasting during the recent riots. Say it ain't so, Joe. As riots engulfed Los Angeles and mobs vandalized public buildings, incinerated vehicles, and assaulted law enforcement officers, California Governor Gavin Newsom was enjoying a swanky wine tasting party in Napa Valley. A wine tasting was held in the afternoon of June 7 at Odette Estate Winery, which Newsom co-founded in 2011, dubbed Vineyard Vibes. The event was a fundraiser for the Plumpjack Foundation, founded by Newsom. That's another one of his wineries. By Newsom's sister, and featured contemporary yet sophisticated wines, live jazz, locally made pizza, and smash burgers. It's a perfect kickoff for summer fun. The fete will take place in the winery in the crush pad, where it will be perfect for everybody. Source who photographed Newsom at the event expressed shock that the governor was in attendance, given that the riots had broken out in Los Angeles the day before. This wasn't even we didn't understand they were that one. This is the second day of the LA riots. I couldn't believe it, the source said. He was just walking around like this was an everyday occurrence. Newsom was at the wine party for at least 90 minutes, according to the source, who said that the governor finally left. He appeared to retreat to an inner rooms of the winery. He didn't leave the winery. He just moved to the private deals where there was probably some brown paper bags, and we probably know what was in the brown paper bags. Yet Newsom was always crowing and saying, oh, we got everything under control. We don't need the National Guard. This is just like, this might even be worse. Than the deal up there, the $1,000 a plate dinner, French Laundry, that almost got him recalled during the COVID con. While they're telling you you can't go visit grandma, you can't leave your house, arresting pastors, schools, private schools that were open, personnel with that because they were open, restaurant owners were trying to survive. He was at a $1,000 plate dinner. Now we're out at a fundraiser a day after the riots broke out. Spokesman for the governor said that Newsom has proudly attended the event, which is intended to raise funds for the University of San Francisco Cancer Center of honor of her mother who died of breast cancer. Of course, we're going to try and tug at the heartstrings. Of course, they mentioned the French Laundry deal, which was in 2020. She said, I made a mistake. I'm not going to do it again. Great job of reporting by Chris Rufo. And this just goes to the utter arrogance that my ass don't stink. You have to do as I say, not as I do. The promises, remember when he was screwing his best friend's wife, who was his campaign manager back in the lieutenant governor days, or running for San Francisco mayor, whatever he was doing back then. To the French Laundry deal, oh, I'm not going to do that again. That was a mistake in judgment. I shouldn't have done it. Well, he's doing it again. And I mean, we don't have to get into the polling. The reason why he's running this left-wing stuff is you got to run in the Democratic primary in 2028 for president. And to win the Democratic primary, you got to go way to the left. You got to placate to the rioters, to the AOC crowd, to the Jasmine Crockett's, Ilhan Omar's, especially if it's a crowded field. All you got to win is about 20%, and off the first few primaries, and you're pretty much on your way to the nomination. That's why he's pulling all this crap. And why his popularity is going down in California at record numbers, but he doesn't care. Because he's not going to be running for statewide office anymore. His only shot now is 28 for president, unless he runs for city council or something, which I don't think his ego could take that. It's beyond the pale at times. Of this. SCOTUS made some interesting, Supreme Court released some more decisions. We'll get into it more next week. But Kagan, 2 or 3 of them were 7-2. And there was a rare split. This hardly ever happens. Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito were on both, were on the majority opinion in the dissent, which was Alito and Gorsuch. This is a very interesting Supreme Court, man. They flip all over the place on that, but maybe we'll get more into that. They should release some more. I think today will be the last one. This will be the end of their session till they come back, I believe, in September. But it will be very interesting to see how this all shakes up. The lawsuit, again, filed by Fontana businessman Frank Montes against and alleges no relation to him, Edgar Montes, and the Rialto Unified as a citadel of scandal, saying undue influence for personal gain, retaliation for disagreements, inflation of meal counts, defamation, employee mistreatment. Man, there's a mess going on over there to the max. See if we can do that. I want to get to this one too. Second Amendment Foundation put it out. In a 3-0 panel decision, the Ninth Circuit of the Court of Appeals has upheld Second Amendment's summary judgment win in Nijgen versus Bonta, our challenge to California's 1 gun a month rationing law. The panel held California's law is facially unconstitutional because the plain text at the Second Amendment protects the possession of multiple firearms. It protects against meaningful constraints on the Second Amendment. So we had a really good victory there again. That's at the panel decision. We'll see, and I'm pretty sure Rob Bonner will probably appeal it to the whole Ninth Circuit. And we'll see if they take that up it is. But I think this one really needs to go to the Supreme Court, because then it will be law all across. If they rule the same, which I'm almost as certain almost as I could be, they are going to rule like the 3-judge panel did at the Ninth Circuit, then it will be law all across the nation. So let's hope that we get to that point. And I think we need to push the program that we need to settle the Second Amendment and your right to keep and bear arms for once and for all. I'm going to show you a recent USAC CRA main event at El Centro. They'll be racing tomorrow night, along with the Street and Super Stocks at Paris Auto Speedway. Hopefully we'll get RJ Johnson on to preview that. So enjoy this. We'll be right back.
Yaley, Johnson, slowly through 3 and 4. We are green. Johnson to the high side. Here comes Ricky Lewis. Ricky Lewis splits the middle and takes the lead off of turn number 4. Big wheel stand by Ricky Lewis. RJ Johnson going to follow him through 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway. JJ Yaley with a tight setup on his car. Oh, he bikes up in 3 and 4. Another wheel stand. Logan Calder was in 5th, looking for 4th. Meanwhile, up front, Braden Shermoney wants the lead. He's right on the tail tank of your leader, Ricky Lewis. It's almost as if Ricky could hear him, and he pulled away to a little bit of an advantage. And we got JJ Yaley exiting between turns 1 and 2 on the outside of the track. Tough break for the Phoenix native. His night will be done. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. Meanwhile, up front, Ricky Lewis still up front, but he bobbles in 1 and 2. Here comes Shermoney. Shermoney trying to reel him in again, going into 3. 10 laps to go. We are 2/3 the way through this feature. And Brandon Shiramonte is there.
So you just saw a little bit of the action that will be at Paris Auto Speedway tomorrow night on that. And the kickoff of summer, these are the longest daylight hours you see today and tomorrow. The official kickoff of summer. We'll do it in the Inland Empire out here at Paris Auto Speedway. We have the current USAC CRA Sprint Car champion of that, RJ Johnson from Arizona. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy, RJ.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it. I got this, and your dad might remember this. You probably won't. But you are the current USAC CRA Sprint Car champion. You're currently running number 2nd. Are you going to be trying harder like the old Avis car rental commercial has? How are you going to beat Ricky Lewis? He seems to be pretty tough this year.
Yeah, Ricky, it's just a different level when you get back there running back east, and he's keeping us all on our toes. We actually just got back from running back there for 3 weeks, trying to be better. So when we come back, hopefully we learned a little bit and can be a little better and try to catch him.
Yeah, he's been pretty stout. That's one thing, and I mean, it's been kind of a contention of mine. We have had and I'm not slighting any of you guys out here anywhere, but you bring up a good point that I've said, is we need to get back to racing more out here so our guys are a little bit stouter like we used to be of that, and you put it on the head. There's nothing better for a racer to sharpen his skills and be on top of his game and be able to battle the guys coming in from back east when they do than if you're racing yourself a lot, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that, keeping a steering wheel in your hand, probably the best thing you could do as a race car driver, just constantly racing, constantly trying to be better. One thing about it, Ricky has done that, and he's done a good job at it. He's in Indiana running right as we speak, and I'm sitting here in a truck and trailer getting it washed. So, he's automatically a night ahead on the weekend every time.
It is. I mean, I'd like to see the day when we ran, like if it would come up like on 4th of July weekend or Labor Day or Memorial Day where you had multiple races going on. And, we had like the Civil War tour with NARC and then Arizona Racing Association and all that. Sometimes all three of us would be running together with the old CRA. Man, it kept, but when those guys came in from back east or some, our guys were ready for the challenge. And again, I'd like to see us get back to it. I mean, we have Paris Auto Speedway coming back. Santa Maria's getting back online, Calistoga. We need to get some more tracks back down there running in Arizona to get you guys sharpened up a little bit more. I don't know how we're going to do it. I wish I could wave a magic wand, but somehow we got to figure this out.
Yeah, it's tough right now with the economy. I feel like there's so much going on in today's world. It's hard for us racers. There's so many different sporting events to go to each and every day. Just, somehow we got to entice them that racing's better. I don't know how we do it, but we got to try, right?
You got it. And that's why we're trying to get people out, man. And the old thing is, if you're a race friend, bring somebody to the races, promote it, tell everybody, and I think once you get them out there, because if you go and watch these guys at Paris Auto Speedway tomorrow night, you're going to see some fantastic racing. The racing product you guys are putting out is probably, and I would say is good, and I've been around for parts of 7 decades. The racing product is as good as it's ever been. We just need to get the people back in the stands, RJ.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I don't know how we go about it, but I sure would love it. There's nothing more exciting than winning a race. And when you get out of that car and the crowd is just so active and there's so many, as a driver, that is the coolest thing we could have. Winning the race is one thing, but when you got the people excited, that's just a whole other level, in my opinion.
1,000%. Again, and I'm with you, I'm not the biggest, I'm not an Elon Musk intellect or something and knows how to figure this out, but we need to get our collective heads together to do that. And like I said, Paris is a great facility. You guys, Tommy Malcolm, Ricky Lewis, AJ Bender, man, like I said, you guys are putting on tremendous racing out there. And, we just need to get a lot more people involved in this. We need to get, and I've said this a lot, need to make this a more family friendly deal, get some of the prices down maybe for concessions, getting in the gate and stuff. I understand the Dodgers and stuff for $100 or whatever it is. This is not that sport. It's a sport of the grassroots people, and we need to. I think one of the things is to build it into that, RJ.
Yeah, I agree. I know, like, I can't say for most people coming from Phoenix to even try to go to Paris, it's pretty expensive. That's where I give out here, Jerry Petty and Brad Whitfield at Casa Grande. They've done a great job. Their main goal out here at Casa Grande has actually been trying to make it more family friendly. So they're actively doing that, and even here we got the Western World coming up, and I don't remember off the top of my head what it pays, but it was a lot of money, which is really cool to see that back in Arizona. And talking with them too, they got some good ideas coming back. So it'd be cool to see the Western World back how it was.
1,000%. I'm glad they're bringing that back as the tradition that it used to be. And one of the premier sprint car events, in the United States, was that with the old Pacific Coast Open and things like that. I mean, everybody came out. We need to get back to that, and like we said, of building that. And you mentioned that. I don't know how you guys do it. Even of the day of just the expense of transporting, the fuel costs and everything. You guys driving up for Arizona, or if we went down there or up to Northern California, I get it, man. It's tough on everybody. Maybe we need more combination races or something to figure this stuff out. I hope we get to that point. Got about a minute left. Mention your sponsors, everything, because it takes a lot of people and money to put this thing together. Go.
Yeah, first and foremost, I got to thank Jerry Petty with Avanti Windows and Doors. I got Apache Transport, Jugo Superfoods, Lifestyle Homes. We got a whole army. It's kind of crazy how many people have came on board. We just started this team at the start of the year with Jerry. I drove for my dad and my stepmom for as long as I can remember here, and we kind of stepped out and tried something new this year. So that's kind of been our struggle a little bit. But again, I got to thank Jerry and Bev, his wife, for everything they do for me and my team, and all my crew guys for all their hard work.
You got it. We'll see you tomorrow night, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
You got it. RJ Johnson will be competing tomorrow night out at Paris Auto Speedway, along with AJ Bender, Tommy Thunder Malcolm out of Corona or Kuiper, wherever he's landing at that, and a whole bunch more. The Williams boys Williams family supported racing for a long time out there. It's absolutely, bring somebody, do something fun this weekend. Absolutely, that's on your list, whether it's going to Paris Auto Speedway, having a barbecue, or whatever. We got to get back to enjoy. Trump's in, making things better. We got other challenges, but let's get it together. Bring some people to Paris Auto Speedway or something, and let her rip. Have a beer and a hot dog or something. Hoot and holler. Hey, the whole smash them up with the super stocks on the last one. Cops were called, fights in the pits. All sorts of action going on out there. So you never know what may happen when you roll into the racetrack. But most of the time, you won't regret it. You'll have a very good time. And that's it. On this today and tomorrow, the longest daylight hours, the kickoff of summertime. Summertime is all about fun. So let's exercise that this weekend, next weekend, going to the 4th of July, because you got to get your mind off some of this stuff or you'll go absolutely crazy. That'll do it for this week. As we usually say at this time, mandatory you're back here in 71 hours wide to hear the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The preceding was a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those
All right, Roy, have a good weekend or try.
You got it. We'll see you Monday.
All right, take it easy.